Welcome to episode 28 of Mixed Reactions. I'm your host, Casey Merritt, joined along just by one single other co-host tonight, Mr. Ian Blackwell. How is it going tonight, buddy?
It's going good, man. You know what? I thought it was the other day, but my cats actually just turned one today. I thought their birthday was last week, but I just saw the memory, so I couldn't forget to give them boops. Make sure to call them all in a room to make sure they were all paying attention and make sure they all felt appreciated. Really sad that we
Okay.
got to be with that. Yeah, no, really big week for me. Really sad that we had to be without Justin tonight. I know he has some things going on, but somebody that doesn't have anything going on was the Boston Celtics. I mean, not the Boston Celtics, the Golden State Warriors. Holy shit. We'll get to that later.
We will get to it later, but I do want to commend you on your pick. Last podcast, you said the Celtics by like 34.
They won by
You know, if
52.
they won by 52, and me and Justin were saying there's no way they'll beat the Warriors by 34, and I don't know if you can hear this clap, Mr. Blackwell,
They're
but I
48
give
and
you props. You
12,
called it.
bro. This is their championship to lose. Speaking of championship to lose, we were kind of talking in the group.
And it is. Um, I was gonna say, with that being said, you kind of had a question you wanted to throw at me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I kind of ruined your leading into me. Sorry about that. But so we were talking about teams that, window they're closing. I think Boston's obviously in win now mode. You could put them on
Absolutely.
your list if you want, but three
Of course.
teams that are in win now mode. I mean, I'm talking about. I don't know if I want to say the elite teams, but I mean, I guess you could include teams like the Wizards if you want. Yeah, just anybody.
No,
So
absolutely not.
three teams in win now mode, and then three teams where they have a little bit of a bigger margin of error. Go ahead and start with the teams that need to win immediately to prevent the whole fan base from losing their shit.
So the three teams, and this is across the whole spectrum of the NBA. I'm not going to narrow this down by conference. So the teams that, in my opinion, are in the most win now mode. Obviously, number one's Boston. Let's not split any hairs here. Boston sitting at 48 and 12. Of course, they've won 10 in a row.
Oh,
Look,
100%.
look far and away the best team in basketball. So I think a championship this season is pivotal for Boston and this roster to say as it's currently constructed. Another team that I have in win now mode, I know they're only sitting at ninth in the West, but due to the age of the team, due to just the expectations of who they are, I'm going to say the Lakers. I know, of course, the expectations aren't the biggest for the Lakers come playoff time. However, of course, if you pay attention to last night, they did beat the Thunder, who are now currently a half game back in Minnesota, and the Lakers have beaten the Thunder 3 straight times now. They seem to be a matchup problem for the Thunder. So definitely keep an eye on that. And the last team that I have in the win now mode, it's got to be Phoenix, right? Because if you break it down, Phoenix is probably the last quote unquote big three remaining with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. So with that level of offensive talent, if it doesn't get it done in the playoffs, I suppose you would have to say that maybe it's time to not necessarily blow up the roster, but reconfigure a few things and just build around Booker and KD. I was going to throw the Clippers in there too, but I'm actually going to put the Clippers on the other side of this, where I don't necessarily feel like this is the season to put them in the win now mode. Now, obviously, the Clippers are sitting at the 4th seed. They're 39 and 21, but they're 5 and 5 over the last 10. They've been wishy-washy since the All-Star break. But I feel that they have sustainable success. Obviously, Kawhi is still almost in his prime. Same with Paul George. I think Paul George is still at the peak of his prime, but I think it's going to be dipping. I'd say within the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see a slippage from Paul George. And the other two teams that I feel are not even close to win now mode, but are still very good teams and teams that are not going to panic if a championship is not won this year. We'll take that 3rd seed in the East, and I'll roll to Cleveland. They're sitting at 39 and 21 as well. And I think they've surprised everybody. They have built a real competitive roster. Let's see how it holds up in the playoffs. But at the same time, nothing but impressed with what Cleveland has done with since LeBron has left. They have built and built and built and are true competitors now. The last team that I'm going to put in that scenario is the Thunder. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are just too inexperienced right now. Obviously, SGA has proven that he's a phenomenal star in this league. Superstar, and I think he's only going to continue to get better. Chet Holmgren is in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Of course, he was hurt last year, but this is his rookie season. And so he's in that contention. He has shown potential to be that superstar. And of course, they're sitting at 42 and 29, second seed in the West, only a half game behind Minnesota. Let's not act like we're sitting out here throwing away the Thunder's chances if they don't win this year. That would be my three teams. What would yours be?
Yeah, number one for me as far as winning now. I mean, it's hard to not say the Boston Celtics.
It's got to be Boston, right?
You've got to. I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna have to show me to show that somebody has to win more urgently than Boston. I mean, they're 48 and 12. They've played 2 less games than Minnesota, who's the number 1 team out west, and they've won 5 more than them. Boston is 29 and 3 at home. They're 33 and 6 against the East, and they're winning by 11.4 points a game. The second biggest point differential in the NBA would be OKC at plus 7.6. Like, they're blowing teams off the floor.
They have 3 wins by 50 plus.
3. Wow. Wow. I mean, they're gonna play Denver on Friday. I believe the game is
It's in Denver, right?
It is in Denver at 7 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT. So they're getting a taste of having to go to the West Coast in a big time game. Obviously, Denver right now sitting at third in the West, 42 and 19. I mean, so yeah, the Celtics are my number 1 team. Just not get too far off topic. My number 2 team, as far as win now mode, it's kind of because I think every year, and this year we've got a few cases of it. Some teams, they do get a bit of a mulligan. I mean, granted, there have been teams that, like, they've been bad for a few years and they've been dysfunctional for a few years, but they get a mulligan, whether it be because of an injury or, normally because of injury. But number 2 for me would have to be Milwaukee. I think that getting Doc Rivers, I mean, they're climbing up now. They're second place in the East, are 41 and 21, and their last 10 they're 8 and 2. So they're finally kind of getting their feet under them.
Catching that stride, right?
Yeah, they're catching the stride. I think a lot of people, I don't know, man. Like we Doc Rivers, that Boston team, man, was just so. That team was just special. They won the championship. But other than that, what have we really seen Doc Rivers do that's worth mentioning in a positive manner?
Nothing.
I mean, when you think about, okay, let's just think about the series that Doc Rivers has blown. The pandemic year, 3-1 series, lost. When I think he was the coach with the Clippers.
Your mic's cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Testing. Yep, you're good.
Okay, sorry. But I think he was the coach when they blew the 3-1 lead to Houston. Pandemic year, he blew another one with the Philly when there's just all these 3-1 leads he's blowing, man.
I agree.
I mean, the thing is, you look at it, he blows a 3-1 lead in 2020, goes to Philly, blows another 3-1. That's ridiculous.
And so I don't hate the Milwaukee pick. The only reason I personally didn't put Milwaukee on the win now mode is because it's Giannis and Dame's first year together. It's kind of tough to get over that threshold on your first year together. So that's the only reason. If this was the second or third year for Dame and Giannis, then I absolutely would have. So I completely understand why you put them on there. Because when you get 2 superstars together, it's almost expected that, hey, you need to go win a championship.
No, yeah, for sure. And I could see how you wouldn't put them on there, but I think just them being so overpowered, that's why for me I have to put them on there. And then number 3, as far as being in win now mode, because dude, like I said, there's just a few teams this year who, like I said, they do get mulligans. The Lakers are all. I mean, when you have LeBron on your team, you kind of have to do so much. Like you're gonna have to move around him. So I mean, especially with his age, you have to win now, because if you don't, you're gonna. I mean, the Lakers are always gonna be able to attract people, whatever. But the number 1 team, sorry, I wouldn't say the Lakers, just because I don't know, man. Like I almost, because there's so many teams that have, some that we're gonna cut up some slack if they don't end up doing it. I would say Golden State, to be honest, for sure, for my third win now team. I mean, we see that they have Poisinski coming in there. It's to the point where, now Curry's getting up there in age, Clay's getting up there in age, Draymond can't stay on the court. You do have Wiggins in there, but I mean, they just lost by 50 points. Like the Warriors, with the fact that Curry's aging and Clay's aging, I don't think. Okay, when it comes to me saying the Celtics and the who is my number 2 team? Fuck, Milwaukee win now mode. That's one of those things to where it's like, if you don't win the championship, you should, because you're the most talented team. The Warriors, they're not the most talented team, but I feel like for the fact that it can all be blown up so quickly for the Warriors, that's why they need to win now, because this might be the last time they can salvage any glory, because we don't know what's going to happen 3 years from now when I mean, shit, Steph, I think we're talking about probably like 36 in a few years.
So it sounds like you're putting the Warriors on there the same reason I put the Lakers on there, pretty much.
Yeah, essentially. And then as far as 3 teams that I think are good, but they have a little bit more slack, is number 1, Oklahoma City. I think that's one of the more obvious answers, just considering how insanely young they are. I like how they play, but I think even if they do, crap out in the playoffs, and we've seen top seeds, like Memphis a few years ago against the Warriors crap out. But even if they do, I think we'll cut up some slack. It's not going to be to the point until it's like Boston, where it's like, all right, like, get it together, bro. Like, now you guys just can't. It goes from Boston, be it a sentimental, I don't know if I say sentimental favorite, but the lovable losers, to, okay, now you guys just, suck. The label changes. It does start losing a lot.
It does. That's definitely the pressure that Boston has. You're right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Number 2, I like Dallas in this spot. I know anytime you have a team with Luka and Kyrie, you're going to be expected to do a lot. Dallas did end up winning this past weekend, but I think that the fact that Kyrie and Luka, I think they just this past weekend played like their 40 something, maybe 50th game together. They haven't played too many games together. This is their first full season together. It's always, injuries. A lot of the times with Kyrie, but I think that Dallas, especially with the addition of Gafford, they have Hardaway. Kleba was playing some nice minutes on Sunday, so
I think the only thing that's lacking with Dallas is a big defensive presence. They have all the offensive pieces there, but obviously their 2 main superstars aren't really known for their defense.
Yeah, that's true, man. They were cooking this weekend though. Like I like their Lively. He's not the answer. Gafford's a little bit of a better defender, but I mean, they could pretty much get an open shot whenever they want, just with how much attention that Luka and Kyrie are going to bring in, just what they could do. But that was a really fun topic that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, just because we do have about 20 or so games left. And you know what, man, the NBA playoffs is just such a great time. It's like every game is another season. But let's not forget, and I know you're not a huge NHL guy, the NHL playoffs, man,
they're a different atmosphere.
It's different. It's just some of the NBA playoff games, like, I'm sure when you go to Sacramento, that motherfucker's gonna be loud. But NHL is just it's better. I think the presentation
not to sound
of the NHL is better.
Not to sound biased, but of course it's always crazy in the Garden, regardless if it's Bruin or Celtics for playoffs. Boston has some of the best fans in sport, loudest fans. I won't say best.
No, I'd say Boston has the best fans. I think Boston has the best fans in sports.
That's so true. They're passionate. They're passionate.
They know their stuff.
What do you say we dip into some college basketball, Mr. Blackwell?
Oh man, Caitlin Clark.
Before we dish into Caitlin Clark, I want to throw out one thing to you really quickly here. You know how last show you were up on, this is going to sound crazy, but UMass Lowell Riverhawks basketball.
Did they get their ass beat this weekend?
They're currently down 7 to the University
of Maine.
Yes, sir.
Oh shit! Did American East tournament started already?
No, it's the last game of the regular season. Maine's up with 53 seconds left, 68-61.
Are they playing at UMass Lowell?
Nope, they're playing in Orono.
Wow, that's impressive, man. Yeah, they UMass Lowell, their arena, it's like fucking tiny, and it's kind of cool, but I mean, it looks like. Hold on. Shh. Oh yeah, somebody stole somebody money or something. But what what I was gonna say was
here in Vegas, right?
The Maine is like sitting, if I'm not mistaken, like 4th or 5th or something like that. They're like middle of the conference.
They're 5th.
The fifth, okay, yeah. I've watched a little bit of the American East, man. It's normally the pretty early games that come on ESPN Plus. U Albany, Vermont, like where the baskets are suspended from the fucking thing because they can't afford the stationary baskets. It's great, man.
Yeah.
I love college basketball. Go Black Bears, go Black Bears.
But Caitlin Clark, this past weekend, my friend, passed Pistol Pete Maravich for the most points in D1 history. What do you make of that?
Yeah, but before I just want to say that so many I couldn't click on a post about the Caitlin Clark thing Sunday without people saying, oh, Pistol Pete did it in less games without a three or what do they say, less or without a 3 point line, no shot clock. And then there was one other thing as well. But and I'm just like, we know. I don't think I just feel it's kind of irritating the need a lot of people
People
need to point that out.
people always try to find a way to diminish accomplishments to feel better about themselves. And it's just some of the most asinine rhetoric that you'll hear. Like, an accomplishment is an accomplishment.
Yeah, the
Like,
girls score more points than anybody ever. It's stupid. I don't.
is it ironic that we had two scoring feats over the past weekend for
Oh, with
basketball? You
LeBron.
know, LeBron
Hmm.
eclipsed 40K, and that got diminished as a longevity record if you ask Skip Bayless. And then if you ask anybody on Twitter, Caitlin's Clark record doesn't count because she's a female. Like,
But the
it's
thing is, like, I like to be honest out there are a lot of delusional women out there that think some women basketball players could be men's basketball players, and
yeah, that's delusional.
I say give me the men as 313-point favorites to win that game. But nobody was going around saying that she was better. They were just saying she scored more points if she played in the NCAA too. Like, I don't see the big deal. That girl is amazing, bro. She passes
Absolutely.
the ball. She's like, that team gels so well through her. Whenever they're able to get on a run or score on the break, it's her passing the ball or her shooting. Like, her shooting ability, just natural. It's just I think with Caitlin Clark, and I've seen, I'm not a huge women's basketball fan. I've watched like a few championship games and stuff over the years, but like I watched was it Skylar Diggins Smith, Candace Parker, Maya Moore. Caitlin Clark is the best pure basketball player I've ever seen in terms of just beautiful shot, just knowing how to play the game, her vision. Like, it's like she's the perfect offensive basketball player. Like, she
And
really
let's
doesn't
be
have any
real.
weakness offensively at all in her
And let's
game.
be
Like,
real.
she's perfect.
She's a better pure shooter than a lot of men. As
Yeah, for
far as just pure shooting the basketball.
a lot of women have better form for sure, better fundamentals in a lot of cases because the athleticism can't make up. You can't go block a shot off the backboard. You're not as athletic. But yeah, no, pure shooter. It's knockdown, bro. And the thing Caitlin Clark famous is, I remember Sean. Shout out to Sean and his podcast, but he showed he was the one that got me put on to Caitlin Clark because he showed a video in our group chat, and this girl was pulling from like 30. Like, we've seen a few good basketball players, Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, but this girl was pulling from so far away, and that was like she was becoming a pretty big deal. And I think they played like a Sunday game against like Indiana, and and at this point the phenomenon around Caitlin Clark is just, and let's also give LSU some credit too. I think the LSU women's team for beating them like they did and having the swagger they did last year has kind of what's made more people interested in Caitlin Clark, whether it's to see her fail or see her, see LSU fail, see Caitlin Clark succeed. Like, I'll give them their credit
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely agree. I could not agree more with that statement.
Caitlin Clark, though, that girl can hoop, man. Iowa, like, that what the fuck was it? 50,000 people showed up to watch an exhibition game between them and like was Nebraska or some shit like that, and it was at the football stadium. Like, damn,
Absolutely.
like, what do you? Oh, where are all those people going? They're going to watch women's basketball. Like, that's fucking crazy. There was a
I'd watch a
volley.
Caitlin Clark game live.
Yeah, no, for
I would
sure. And,
100% go to one of her
and
games
that's
live.
that's the thing. Like, when it comes, I'm like, there's actually a pretty good debate too. Like, the whole lowering the rims in the WNBA. I'm not a huge fan of it because the reason that we want to tune into the NBA, like, wow, when people are dunking, is because we can't do that shit ourselves. You give me a 9-foot rim and I can do the shit they're doing in the NBA. We watch the NBA because we know we can't do all those crazy ass dunks. If we see women
Mr.
dunking on
Blackwell,
nine, if we see women dunking on a 9-foot court, we're gonna be like, I can do that too. You have to just improve the way you market the game. Don't stop going on, players going on podcasts saying that this isn't fair. I mean, not a lot of them. There's been a couple of them gone on, saying we don't get a fair. Like it just that lowering the rim shit. I just don't like it
So,
at
Mr.
all.
Blackwell,
He's the handshake.
I have to chime in here really quickly here, sir. And I say this with no disrespect intended. I don't think you could dunk on a 9-foot hoop.
I don't think you could dunk on an 8-foot hoop, seeing as how you can't even see over the counter. But continue.
I never said I could dunk on an 8-foot hoop. I don't have the.
I can a 9-foot hoop. I can get a 9-foot hoop. Even
can you?
Yes, I can. I'm 5'10". I'm 250, bro. No, not really. I'm 150. No, I'm not 150. I'm probably like 150.
I don't agree with them lowering the hoops either. I don't think that's necessary. I mean,
wait, hold on. So you stopped me just say I could dunk on an 8-foot hoop? Fuck you. Or a 9-foot
No,
hoop.
I think you could dunk on an 8-foot hoop. I don't think you could dunk on a 9-foot hoop.
But what were you saying though? I'm sorry.
What I was gonna say is I think that I agree with you as far as not lowering the rims. I think that's a fair statement, right? Because I have to watch people who do shit can't do because I don't think that resonates with us as far as WNBA basketball. Now, I really hate wording it like this. For the fans they do have in the WNBA, I don't think that's not why they watch the game. I think they watch the game for the strategy. I think they watch the game for the plays that they set up. Sure.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that lowering the hoop in that instance is going to do anything for them because they're not watching the WNBA for the same reasons that we would watch the NBA. I know it's still basketball, but it's a different sport, if that makes sense. No, it doesn't.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Oh, okay, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm just not a I'm not a big. Did you ask something at the very end? It kind of cut out.
I did.
Okay, what was your question?
No, it wasn't a question. It was a point. Like I'll just restart it from the top. What I was saying.
No, I heard you until like the last 10 seconds. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to make sure you heard the whole thing. So when it comes to true WNBA fans,
right,
they don't watch it for the same reasons that we watch the NBA, right? So they watch it for the strategy, they watch it for the plays that they set up, they watch it for the team camaraderie, and they watch it to see fluent basketball, which is you get a lot of that in the WNBA.
For sure.
And I understand that they're both still playing basketball, but the WNBA and NBA, they're different sports, if that makes sense. I get they're both playing basketball, but it's different sports, the way that the game is played.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a really good point as well that you bring up, that real fans of the WNBA, because I mean, there's people who, I mean, same way that we can name role players in the NBA, can name girls coming off the, so there are the fans who are going to watch it for the strategy, just like any sport. You get a huge baseball fan, they'll sit there and watch a college baseball game, which I don't know if you were just trying to sit there and watch a college baseball game. Wow. But the thing is, I think with the WNBA, there's a clash. There's a clash of
Sorry. Tatum just
hit a buzzer beater. What did you say?
Sorry, I made a yelping sound because Tatum just hit a buzzer beater to end the first quarter.
Nice.
Sorry. Dude, I really did not mean to do that.
No, but fucking no, but I think with the WNBA, there's a clash of people who are like, man, I'm not gonna watch that shit. They're not dunking. They're not, but then you have the other people who, like you said, the strategists, and you have a clash of those people. I'm more of because I'm a huge basketball fan. Like, I want the game to be pure. I'm not a huge fan of street ball. Like, I don't like to play street ball. I don't like to really watch street ball because I like basketball. And
I like watching the highlights, like highlight reels of it. I wouldn't watch a full street ball game.
But the shit is just so, like, bro, I mean, it's cool, but then when you see them just commit the most blatant travels, like, they'll pick the ball up and moonwalk and shit. That's like 8, 9, 10 steps. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, I don't like that either.
Travels and shit, but it's like
when the NBA used to air trampoline basketball.
Oh,
Not the
slam
NBA,
ball.
ESPN. ESPN used to, slam ball. That's what it was. I hated that. I thought that was boring.
Yeah, that shit is back in it's in Vegas now. The Slam Ball League, they have it. It's like an 8-week season. You know, they all do it at the same place. It's in Vegas. We just had like the National Rugby League finals. But going back to the WNBA too, it's just it doesn't like because like you
Your
like
mic's
we
cutting out again, buddy.
oh sorry. God damn it. I think it's the little twist I have in at the top. Sorry. That's why I probably couldn't hear you at the end of the last thing too. But it because think like okay, think about you, like you, for example, you, Justin, Jason, anybody. I watch some college basketball. You guys mainly just watch the NBA. Why? Because those are the best players in the world. They do shit that we can't do. Most people don't watch college basketball because they're not as good. Do you really think they're gonna watch some women play? And I mean that with no disrespect. When my point being is because if I'm watching the University of Maine against UMass Lowell in basketball, either of those teams would probably smoke a WNBA team because those are D1 basketball players.
Yes,
Most
they would.
people don't
Absolutely,
watch
they would.
that shit because they don't feel the competition level is high enough. Or even Euro League, they'll only watch NBA. So do you really think they're going to watch WNBA? They need to find a way to be able to appeal to both the avid WNBA fan, all 10 of them, and the people. And I'm sorry, man, the jokes, it comes off of instincts. It like I've been so professional this whole time, but
This
they
man
need to
said all
find a
10
way
of them.
to. But it also comes to a point where you have men who they they just don't like
You reminded me. Well, I gotta say this. You reminded me
the
of that
Family Guy.
Family Guy
Oh,
cutaway when
God.
he's talking about the WNBA. He's like, "Man, that fan must be really
Oh,
upset."
and he's like, "Hey, we're back in the fourth quarter with a score of 10-9. Johnson leads the scoring with 3." And it's like, and she's making a measly $4,000 a year. What do you say? Is having such a mediocre skill worth being this unattractive? That's for the fan to decide.
Yeah, that's for the
Yeah.
fan to decide. Oh man, we're terrible people,
Dude, but
Mr.
no, real
Blackwell.
shit though, bro. The W like the WNBA here, bro, they get sellout crowds like 5,000 plus.
That's not too bad. That's good.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
whoever
uh
Caitlin Clark goes to,
Indiana Fever.
back to her. I think that she'll draw a big
Their
fan
season
base.
ticket sales have already doubled since she declared the Indiana Fever. So she's going there for sure. But she's gonna be one of those girls, bro. It's like who it really just comes down to people make it so complicated. They need to do this, they need to do this. What is going to make people turn on their TV to watch the fucking game? It doesn't matter what you think is should be done. What is going to make people turn the TV on? I've watched WNBA. I've shared my experiences of the girl turning the ball over 3 times in a 25 second span. Nobody was even guarding her. That's besides the point. It's just there's also another thing too, and I don't think this really has a huge thing. It's tradition. The Celtics and the Sixers have been playing since like the 40s. Huge rivalry. Lakers Celtics. You have so many teams in the WNBA. Warriors. There's nobody's it's women's basketball. Like it's just people
I
don't
guess you could argue the
care.
Sparks, right? I mean,
Like
wouldn't
the
they
LA
be them? Are they the marquee franchise of the WNBA?
I don't fucking know. I guess because it seems like because Lisa Leslie was like that first like
She was
girls
the
wanted to
face of it.
yeah girls wanted to be like Lisa Leslie that played basketball. Like it was one of those things where I would say Lisa Leslie was a household name to the point where like if you might not be able to name a single other WNBA player, but if they'd be like name one women's basketball player, Lisa Leslie. That's the only I mean I as a kid I probably could have named like her, Sue Bird, but yeah Lisa Leslie
So,
was. Uh-huh.
um, there was a done. I don't think she ever made it pro. And if you want to look it up to correct me, you can. But I'm not 100% sure. There was a female basketball player who went to the University of Maine when I was growing up, who got a pretty famous household name in the state of
Oh, I
Maine.
just heard
Uh,
about that shit the other day. What?
Cindy Blodgett.
Yeah, she was like the first one to play pro out of Maine, I think. The
Okay,
first
so
pro
she did
athlete out
make
of
it.
Maine. I don't know if it was to the WNBA, but why did I feel like I just saw that same shit. Did you see like a Facebook post about that?
No, it just I remember her name because it was a
What's her
household
name?
name, Cindy Blodgett.
How
She
do you
was a
spell that?
big player for the University of Maine. I don't know
Oh,
enough about.
Bloodgett. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
she's
know
cut
enough
down the
about women's basketball to know if she ever made it pro. But that would have been like, say, I never heard of the WNBA. That would have been the first women's basketball name that I would think of personally, just because of that household name that she became in
Damn,
my
three-time Maine
state. I had
Gatorade
books
player.
about her and shit.
Three-time Maine Gatorade Player of the Year.
Oh, she
Miss
could hoop.
Maine. Damn, let
She
me
could
see.
hoop.
Playing career. I'm looking at this shit right now. Standout player, averaging 27 points per game. Holy shit. She finished her career with 3,005 points, breaking 20 school records, led Maine to its first 4 appearances in the NCAA basketball. First four? She took them to 4 tournaments?
She could hoop, man.
Bro, I'm looking at these. This girl was shooting 36% from three. That's pretty good. 50% from the field. 3 steals a game. 27 point. Oh yeah. Let me see. Oh, and then I guess she went on to have a coaching career, serving as an assistant coach. Yeah. And bro, and speaking of that, that's really cool that you bring that up, is because Cooper Flag, bro, he,
He is
and
going to
that's
be revolutionary for the state of Maine.
for the state of Maine. But that kind of gets me back to, and we'll, because I know we kind of go over the 12 minutes. We'll kind of get to something else in a second, because we were initially talking about women's basketball or college basketball. But that's kind of the reason I brought up the generational thing the other day, is because I was watching Cooper Flag. And okay, let's just kind of, not get too depth into it, but who are the generational athletes? LeBron James, Mahomes, I
I
guess.
say, are we talking through all sports?
Yeah, like throw like
So
LeBron,
obviously LeBron, Patrick
Otani,
Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady,
Otani.
Otani, Mike Trout.
Yeah, and then I guess Wembenyama, but it's like, what, he moves really well. Like, there's no awkwardness in his game at all. He's fast, he can jump high, he has great instincts. That's probably the best thing I noticed about him. But is he generational, or Cooper Flag?
Too early to say.
It's too early to say. Like, exactly. Like, I think there are guys. It's
He could go to the
so hard.
NBA and flop.
It's so hard when you have so much hype, bro, because you think about for every LeBron James, for every Bryce Harper,
There's
there's
an Anthony Bennett.
there's Ted Anthony Bennett. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many guys that, I mean, Brian Bosworth, Tony. What was the big dude for the Packers? Tony Mandarin, Ryan Leaf, Greg Oden
Marcus
was a little bit
Russell,
more
Tim
due to injury.
Couch.
Yeah. Manziel, you know what I'm saying? Whether at their own fault, whether it be injuries, like, there's so many things that have to go wrong when you have that high. And he's gonna be playing at Duke, for Christ's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna
He's gonna
be.
be he's gonna be the most loved man on campus and the most hated player in the country at the same time.
Yeah, and exactly. He's going to be, especially if Duke's good, which, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where Duke
Of
could be
course, Duke's
great.
gonna be good.
Duke could be great. At the very worst, they'll be the middle of the pack. But no, yeah, I'm excited to see him, man. I really want to see him for the sake of the rest of the league. I hope he doesn't, but maybe see him go to the Celtics, just because, yeah, I want to see that, because it's, he's Maine. I'm sure he grew up a Celtics fan.
I'm sure he did. I would love to see him go to the Celtics. Of course, I can't see that happening because I'm pretty sure he's going to go pretty high up in the
The
draft.
Celtics ain't going to be that bad that quick.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, the Celtics are going to be top team in the East for years and years and years and years, regardless if they win the title this year or not. Throw a little thing up there on the Celtics. They're currently up 10 on the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland right now.
They're just so good this year, bro. Like, I don't know what they're on pace for right now, but I mean,
They
they're
got 65 wins, I think.
damn 65. I mean, well, because let me see, they've played, if they're 48-12, they played 60 games, they got 22 left. So that means they'd have to go 17-5 for the next 20. I mean, that's definitely doable. We'll see when they get to the end of the regular. I hate the end of the regular season. The NFL is the worst, because it's like, oh my God. Like, and that's why they say that only rookies make their fantasy championships in the last 2 fucking weeks of the season. Because you know what I'm saying? So they're probably gonna be resting guys. But yeah, bro, like, they're gonna eclipse 60. Like, they are a great team. But I'm excited, man.
That's why they're my number one for win now mode.
Yeah, man. You know who wasn't excited Friday night? Ben Ba.
Oh my God. It's one of those things that Justin and I were talking about last week. Maine absolutely needed a sweep this weekend. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. They only got the split. However, with UNH losing, and I think UMass lost
Yeah,
as well. Maine's still sitting at third. They didn't drop any. Of course, they have a huge series this week coming up against UMass Lowell. Not UMass Lowell. I'm so sorry. I was thinking of basketball against UMass. And they really need to end the regular season on a high note. They have to get the sweep this week. They have to ensure that they get that first round bye when it comes to the Hockey East playoffs. It's a big weekend for Maine. I'm not too excited about what I've been seeing from them. It's like I've been saying for the past couple weeks on them now. I think they bought their own hype and aren't as good as they think they are.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you read your old press clippings, that could happen. But I want to just share something with the viewers. If you think Casey doesn't love Maine hockey, then you are wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and play this for you.
Fucking finally, they bury one. Jesus, tap dancing Christ.
That was Friday night.
Bro, I had that shit on, like my friend was sitting here playing PlayStation. He was like, what the fuck? I was like, bro, because they just got that shit had me crying. And then I was looking through our messages where you were like, yeah, the Celtics could go either way too. And they're at my like 55. Yeah, bro, like it just there's like with Maine, I'll say there's brief stints of like here and there. It's well, like, oh my, like damn, Maine's pretty good. They weren't missing as many passes as which is I guess a good sign, a natural sign as you get further in the season. Earlier in the season they were missing a lot of passes, but they just did it. And they didn't have it. I mean, Vermont spent a good amount of time in that first period in the Maine zone. Maine really just didn't. I mean, granted, at the end of the game, I don't know if it was you or Justin that mentioned it. The Maine had one of their best attacks of the season. Couldn't put a goal in, but they were going at Carrier. But it's just you have to like, especially man, it's so crazy because when you guys are talking about oh well, Maine, if they don't do this weekend, then they might not get in. I'm always, because college basketball is 64 teams get in, and for me, it's weird seeing the number 9 team in the country be at on the verge if they lose the end of the season to not make it. But they just couldn't get anything. Boy, I mean, shit, if Boya wasn't having such a good first period, then they would have been able to do anything. They could capitalize on the power play. I don't think the goal they got was on a power play. They hit the crossbar, I think, twice. But it was just a game, bro, to where Vermont's second goal, the first goal where they pulled it out of their ass, second goal was really nice and made you have to win those games. That's really the only thing I can say. And the penalty kill for Maine was decent, but the power play, like they just couldn't do anything at all. Like you have to
pass. That's all they did.
I mean, they have been, hovered around the top of Hockey East for most of the year as far as their power play, but you have to get those goals in. Like you can't against a team, against Boston College. Obviously, you don't want to go 0-3 on the power play. You have to convert, but that's a little more understandable. But when you have a team, that's what separates good teams from great teams. Great teams will make you pay for fucking up. Maine isn't making them pay for committing these penalties, and they got their shit rocked a couple of times, hard ass hits. Maine threw a couple as well, but there was hard hits from Vermont.
No, I could not agree more. I think you're right on the money with that. And especially when it comes to playing those great teams, which is going to happen come tournament time. You're going to play your North Dakotas. You're going to play your BCs. You're going to play your Quinnipiacs again. You're going to play the teams that are going to be right up there when it's all said and done. And for Maine, those are the type of chances that they cannot blow if they truly want to make a deep run within the tournament. The way they're looking right now, I wouldn't be shocked if Maine was a one and done team within the tournament, which it's still a huge jump from what people anticipated at the beginning of the season, which I know if our co-host Justin was here, that's the point he's going to make. And I'm going to counter it even though you're not here yet. So Justin, that's not good enough when they set the expectations in the season to be better than this. Yes, the preseason expectations weren't that high, but once the season began and Maine showed the potential that they had, a first round exit now becomes a disappointment.
Yeah, I kind of more so align with you with the same thing. I was seeing a few people in the group that we're all in, saying, oh, well, we were expected to finish blah, blah, blah this year. And, it's like, yeah, that's, I guess, good that, we're actually, higher than fucking ninth. But it's like when you see them playing on the ice, when you see how good they can be, when you see how good they started the season, the fact that they beat Boston College at home, like you look up and it's like, okay, I'm not saying like you shouldn't be satisfied when you know the team can do better. Like a lot of the
Absolutely.
times, and I think that's one of the great things about sports when you get to watch a team over the entire course of a season is you get to see the bumps in the road, you get to see how they recover from it. A lot of times with young teams, man, it's like I almost, and being a Maine fan, because trust me, even if they did have a team at UNLV, man, I'm just so ingrained in it that I'm a go Black Bears. But it's like I almost kind of want them to hit rock bottom before it's now hit rock bottom now.
Absolutely agree.
I mean, they don't hit rock bottom now. Don't lose a game, but I mean, show some resolve. Like, really get some, like, get that confidence because all you're gonna have to do if you're Maine is win one game and you're going to the Frozen Four. If you're a top 4 seed, correct, or a top 3
Yes.
seed? No, 3 plays 2, 1 plays the winner of 4 and 5, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But the thing that comes with that is I'm not sure the teams that I trust Maine to beat that are in that upper echelon right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The thing with Maine is, yeah, I don't. Well, if we're talking upper echelons, if we're talking BC, Boston College, probably not. I think there's levels to this shit. There's tiers, there's classes, and they would just outclass Maine if they played to 75% of their abilities in a big game. But if you get Maine in a big game against a Providence, a UMass, what's another team that's kind of up there, but one of those teams. Hell, even from the Big Ten, you get him against a Wisconsin or somebody like that who's kind of hovering around the same as Maine. Like Maine can beat those teams. I don't really think in anything serious they're going to be BC or Boston College or BC or BU. But yeah, no.
Funny
I
thing
think
is, if we were saying this in the early '90s, it'd be the exact opposite. Like, oh, I don't think BC and BU, they're good, but I don't think they could beat Maine.
so. Maine is like them. They're them. They're him.
Yeah, they were back then.
Yeah, man. And I was watching a whole hockey game yesterday. It was, I think, the 1990 Cup Finals. It was the Oilers against I don't know the fuck they play, Penguins, I think maybe. But dude, I don't know something about it. I don't know if it's the camera angle. It was so much easier to watch. Maybe because we're so used to seeing the scoreboard on the TV because how are we gonna watch a game without it? And a lot of the old basketball games, I hate it when the scoreboard's not on the TV. But for hockey, I like it. Like it's so. One of the reasons I think a lot of people don't like hockey, bro, is it's so hard to see the puck. Like it is
You really got
so
to watch.
yeah, it's like I think the NHL they've tried things before, like they follow the puck, but you really have to watch the puck. Like hockey games are so fun in person, bro. Like it's to the point a hockey
They're
game when you
amazing
go,
in
like
person.
you
Have you ever
don't
been
want
to a
to.
Vegas Knights game?
No, I haven't been to the Fortress. I've heard it's amazing. I've been to an Anaheim Ducks game. They played the Coyotes when I was in like second grade, and then I went to a Long Beach Ice Dogs game. First time that I saw a hockey fight. Speaking of hockey fights, since we're trying to talk about trending topics to go viral because nobody watches it, did you see the fight between I think it was Arizona State and Alaska Fairbanks?
That was crazy.
Well, the
Before we get to
referee.
the question, because we kind of wrap things up here tonight, I'd like to point on a side note: the Celtics now lead by 13 in Cleveland.
Cleveland Rocks. Okay. Who
All right,
has
so
that?
Ian, I got it, and I got a good one for you
All
tonight,
right,
my
good, because
friend.
I was not prepared.
I got a good one for you. What's a sport statistic, a weird one that you love that doesn't seem true, but it is? If you need time to think, I can answer mine.
Before I answer that, because we're talking about current events, you're talking about the Celtics. I want to point out that ESPN or somebody, I think it was ESPN, pointed out the most pointless fucking stat earlier. Said LeBron had a LeBron game for the first time ever because he scored 27-7, which is exactly his career average. When I tell you, who the fuck cares? He scored his career average. Congratulations. Nobody's ever scored exactly their career average before. Oh my fucking God. I think my nuts are gonna fall the fuck off. Sorry, that really just bothered me. There's a few of them, bro. I mean, a lot of the interesting sports statistics that I have, it's like the contracts, like the Bobby Bonilla thing, the Allen Iverson deal with Reebok. But as far as statistics, the one that you told me about Wayne Gretzky, where that one season he had more I think assists than anybody else, or any more goals or more assists than anybody else had points. That was a really crazy one.
Well,
What the
and as far as the sports statistic, Ian, I just had to look it up. LeBron's average is 27, 7, and 7, but he's never gotten that in a game. I think that's kind of interesting.
I mean, it's
He's
kind of
ne-
interesting because it's so long, but it's like, I mean, I don't like it's.
Throughout his whole career, he's never had a 27, 7, and 7 game, and yet those are his career averages. I think that's pretty cool. That wouldn't
Yeah.
be my stat, but I think that's pretty cool.
I don't know, but that's like you shitting yourself and then your balls falling in syrup and me being like, oh wow, note that's the first time his balls ever fall. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just a it's just some shit that happened. That didn't make no the pause. But no, I'm just saying, like, it's just a coincidence, bro. It's just a coincidence. I could have just kind of gone without giving that example. That was terrible, but it's just like something that happens. It's like I fucking was too well, I'm gonna kind of just get onto my stat. I don't really what I was trying to say is that it's just not a big like he got 27-7. I guess because it's longevity, but
So
what I'm
what
saying
is
is
yours then?
the odds of hitting that are still pretty slim. Okay, for sure. Appreciate you kind of just going away from that. There was one about Tom Brady about how often he's been, and I think it's the what is it like he spent there? I think the one about Tom Brady where he spent like that's a good question. I was not prepared. Like half of his career, I think in the AFC championship game, I think is the stat or the conference championship game. And then dude, there's some crazy stats. I mean, really, like there's a bunch of records that are mind-boggling. Like you have Pistol Pete, 40 points a game, no 3-point line. Sorry, I'll pick one stat because I'm kind of just going on. Give me a second because I'm just trying to think of I mean, I've never really because I'm trying to not think of something that's like a record, you know what I'm saying? Like this many points in a season, like something that's just like a crazy stat. Do you have yours?
I have two. So
Uh-huh.
let me say my first one, then you can go and I'll go with my
Yeah.
last one. So my first one is that Jim Harbaugh has more career rushing yards than Bo Jackson.
What?
But
How many does Jim Harbaugh have?
His career rushing, I think it's only about like one that he has more. Because remember, obviously, with Bo Jackson, his story. I think his
Well, I mean, because he was
career-
playing both ways, so I mean, he had a pretty short career.
No. He was a running back, but he was also playing professional baseball, but he got hurt.
Yeah. Oh, he got hurt, right? Right.
So Jim Harbaugh has 2,787 rushing yards in his career, right? And Bo Jackson has, I think it's like 2,782. So yeah, it's like one off, right? And so that's just one of the sad. Harbaugh has more career rushing yards than Bo Jackson. And that would seem fake. You know what I mean? If someone said that to you, you'd be like, no,
Right.
he fucking
Well, I mean, because I know
doesn't.
Bo Jackson was in between baseball and he got hurt, but more rushing yards. I mean, it's not like we're talking about Michael Vick here. Wow.
So what would one of yours be?
I was looking up crazy stats, and why did it tell me that in 2012 Ray Rice was voted as the city of Baltimore's most charitable person? Not sure if that was before or after the incident. Dude, I don't. Fuck. There's just. Because I was just.
All right, I'll just go with my other one.
Go
while
with
you
your
think.
other one, and I'll be ready for sure.
So this one's just mad funny when you think about the distance that it is from home plate to first. So think about this, okay? If you tally up all the length that Barry Bonds would have walked from every unintentional or intentional walk he faced in his career, he would have walked 43 miles.
Wait, it was so pretty much every time that he walked, the distance from home plate to first, and that he would walk 43 miles.
43 miles from the amount of times he was walked in his career. So think about the distance from home plate to first, right? And then think about 43 miles, and that's how long.
How many times did he get walked? Do you have that in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me. Sorry, I don't. but I just found that stat to be wild.
Okay, yeah, these I'm looking at this here. These are the type of stats that I'm looking for. These are oh wow. Yeah, this is kind of wild. There's a few of them here. The one that I'm gonna go with, and then I'll kind of jump around the other ones, because it's kind of a fun conversation, is if you took all of Wayne Gretzky's goals away, he would
He'd
still be the all-time
he's
points leader.
it's crazy.
That is absolutely. We were talking, I think it was last week's show or the week before. We could sit all day. Well, like LeBron ain't better than Jordan, but we could sit here and have a debate. We can't have a civilized discussion where you say that anybody, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby,
Bobby Orr,
there's nobody, like, we can't sit here and have that conversation. Here's
no,
another
it's Wayne
one.
Gretzky 100 times over.
Here's another one that I've heard this one before too. This guy, the pitcher in 1919, that won the game despite a complete game win despite being struck by lightning. He had that dog in him. But Michael Phelps holds the record for the longest golf putt ever made on camera.
That's crazy.
And then Steph, what does it say? Statistically, Tom Brady has a higher percentage chance of making the Super Bowl than Steph Curry does in making a three. I think that's kind of crazy.
That's a good one.
Let me see. And there was another one right here too. More men have walked on the moon than have scored an earned run against Mariano Rivera in the playoffs.
That's a crazy one.
Eric
Another one that I
Lundy.
like. Another one that I like is throughout the 2014 season, the Kansas City Chiefs offense receivers did not record a single touchdown. Throughout the whole 2024 season.
What?
2014 season, back when Alex Smith was their quarterback, their receivers did not record a single passing touchdown. Their whole
I heard
receiving
you the
corps.
first time, but I don't think that's real. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, did they get any like on a sweep or anything like that, or just
and like of course tight ends and running backs caught receiving touchdowns, but their
Wow.
wide receiving corps zero.
Yeah, but that's a crazy stat when you consider that throughout the course of the season, you're probably going to have 8-9 guys transition in and out, and probably more throughout the course of the season. That's nuts, bro. Yeah, that's definitely a crazy stat.
That Barry Bonds one still blows my mind though.
Larry
3 miles.
Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles than drops in his career.
That's a crazy one. Another one that I find crazy, Julio Jones has more fumbles against the Saints than he does touchdowns.
He's fumbled the ball more against the Saints than he does touchdowns against the Saints. Wait, what?
In the Saints building, I believe, to be specific. He's had more fumbles than touchdowns.
Yeah. Hey, before we get off, what is the most lopsided game that you've ever watched? It could be pro, it could be college, it could be your local neighborhood. Like, what's the most just absolute, you wanted the team to get off the field because they were getting their ass kicked so bad? Like, what was...
Are we talking about like favorite teams or just games in general?
Just in general, like, what's the worst ass kicking you've ever seen in sports? I know this ain't the question. We'll kind of get off after
I
this.
mean, Jesus, could you point to this Sunday? I mean, you got to think the Warriors were down damn near 50 at halftime.
Or the spread was like minus 55.5. I saw my one of my friends, his team lost 93-0 in football. That was pretty crazy. It was like 70-0 at halftime, and the team was just running up the score. That shit was terrible. Like, it looks so much worse when you run up the score in football, bro, because kids are out there getting hurt. But
exactly.
I was just because we were talking about those crazy stats, and I'm like, you know what? I wonder who has ever. I mean, because there's some of those high school teams, bro. Like, one high school team lost like 170 to like 3. It's
so. You know about the biggest college football loss ever, right?
Oh, like 229-0 or some shit like that.
Yeah, 200 and like I think it was 212.
No, wasn't it like
512-0?
Hold on, before we get I think it was, I think it was, and it was like they had no passing yards and like 897 yards rushed. It was, I think, Cumberland and Georgia Tech, if I'm not mistaken.
It was something like that, but
like,
that's
speaking of the devil,
show Ian.
do you know that some of Alabama, because they claim, they have so many wins. Some of the wins that some of these programs claim they against, like Alabama has wins against like a YMCA, Tennessee has wins against like a deaf school. So it's like funny some of the wins they claim. But yeah, no, great show, man. Great show. I
Great
always
show,
love
man.
Grant.
So it's always fun, sir. I will talk to you again soon. All right.
Yes, sir. And since Justin is not here to say good night, Canada, I'm just going to leave everybody with a very classy thank you for being a Mixed Reaction supporter. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. We don't want you to miss anything new. Have a great rest of your
Take
day.
care.
Ahead of corner 3.